Hey, it's Jakub Gatěk, and today we're trying something very new for our podcast, 32 Bar Talk. It's brought to you by JazzFestBrno, and without further ado, it's my great honor to introduce you to Mr. Keyon Harrold. Well, welcome to our podcast.
What's up? It's a pleasure to be here.
So, you're at the end of your tour right now, is that so? Or like nearing towards the end?
The last quarter. So 4 more shows.
Nice.
I'm excited. Excited.
How has it been for you so far? I mean, touring Europe.
The tour's been great. I've been here since March 1st in Europe, London, Paris, Rotterdam, Utrecht. Where else? Paris. I probably said that twice, but all over. It's been beautiful. It's been an amazing time. Incredible reception for the new music, for the new album. The band has been hitting on all cylinders, like killing it every night. So I'm having a great time.
Yeah, that's lovely to hear. How is I guess is it your first tour after like the big pandemic or?
I've done a few.
I mean, around Europe.
Yeah, I've done a few like smaller ones, but this one is probably the most demanding one in a while.
Okay. Oh, because to me it kind of feels that after everything's happened, now it kind of starts to getting the same tracks as it has been before. Before everything was shut down.
The pandemic, boo.
Yeah. Okay. Let's skip that and not talk about that.
It's all good because the pandemic is a lot of things were born in the pandemic, even though a lot of things died.
Yeah.
Again, I'm here because I'm promoting my new record, and it started during the pandemic. I didn't want to make a pandemic record because there's so many of those, but it started at that time. When I couldn't, we couldn't be around the people we love. We couldn't play with the musicians that we were so used to seeing. Couldn't go to the clubs. We couldn't go to Smalls. Couldn't go to the Village Vanguard. Couldn't go to the Blue Note. And when I could go to the Blue Note, literally it was all walled off. You couldn't really with plastic everywhere. Very, very few people could even be in the establishment. So it was just weird and it was different. But again, at that time, a lot of people learned that, is music really for me? Yeah. Or is it really for, do I really want to do this? For me, it was like, I got to dig deeper. I got to do more music. I got to, try to communicate on a deeper, more visceral level. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned your record a few times already, so I want to talk about that a bit. Because, as you've already kind of touched upon that, it's like, as it started during the pandemic, but it has been tough for most of us, who couldn't have been like with our loved ones around. And like also transferring to like 2024, when there's like 2 wars going on and like all the bullshit in the world, it struck me very nice. I don't want to say it's cheesy, but like it sounds super nice, and that's to me, to relation to all the things that are like happening right now in the world, that you still find the power in you to like release a nice record, that's
release something positive.
Yeah, exactly.
To release something with high vibrations. You know what? We have the ability to look at the world in in any way that we possibly want to. But you can choose positivity. You could also choose negativity. It takes the same amount of energy. Yeah. So I choose positivity. I choose, finding messages that are about raising people's vibrations and, maybe helping change the world in some kind of minute, macro kind of way. Yeah. So I'm sending out the good vibes, Yeah. One of the songs on my album is called, It's a Beautiful Day. And that's with the incredible PJ Morton. It's a beautiful day. Why? Because I say, there's a war going on, but guess what? It won't last forever. And guess what? Sometimes, just like the pandemic, amazingness and beauty is born out of tragedy. That happens sometimes. Yeah. So it's all about perspective. It's all about, how did we get here? How do we get out? And, who am I to, to dwell on the things that are negative when I have the ability to look at things that are positive and know that, guess what? There's always been war. there's always been, struggles. There's always been, negativity, but it's how we deal with it that makes us strong, that makes us better people, that as an artist gives us more to talk about, gives us more content, gives us more visceral information to give to the audience, to the fans, because as artists, who are we without our stories? Our stories are the things that we have to go through.
Yeah.
That's the thing that is actually, the blessings that people don't really realize, that you look right past that.
Yeah.
That the fact that, some people think it's a lost opportunity. For me, for me to I don't know, for something to happen to my son, turns into a triumph versus it being a negative idea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. No, but I mean, for me, definitely this is a very, very nice perk to have within someone. But do you remember yourself like always being like this, or did you need yourself to kind of learn this power, let's say, like over the time? Or
you know what? I'm a religious person. My parents are religious people, and it always, our whole life, it's about love. It's about giving, the agape form of love.
Yeah.
Just trying to be the best type of person that you can possibly be, and learning that you have the opportunity again to choose your disposition, to choose what you feel. You can't control anything else that anybody else throws at you. You can't really, but you can control with how you see
how
it.
How you feel, yeah, exactly.
Or how you view it. Somebody can be coming at you with, I don't know, with hell. But if you can see and you can say, okay, I can move it this way, I can position it this way, then it can be cool. That's kind of how I see, when I'm playing music, when I'm soloing, when I'm improvising. Sometimes, the piano player could play something and I'm gonna be like, oh, I didn't expect that. Substitution, where do I go? What am I going to do? How am I going to react to it? It's all about how you react to things. Maybe that's a shorter form of, the explanation of your perspective. Is how you react to certain things. And I look at everything in the form of music. It comes, the music comes and it changes so quickly, so fast. And it's like, okay, what do? Do I get scared? Do I let some bars go past? Do I, attack it in the most visceral, vicious kind of way? I got to be ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But trust that the drummer's going to do something that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, think about it. When we go through life, if we get the things that are so normal and mundane, it's not even interesting.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
want to be surprised. Throw me off. Put me in a position, play some chords, play some rhythms, play a bass line that I didn't even know you had in you. So we can take this music, so we can take this journey to another level,
Yeah.
And the same way for me is like life.
Yeah. Definitely. It's also like interesting that you're kind of from the same rounds as Miles was, right? And so that
absolutely.
So this thing that it comes a long way with like oh yeah, we need to be like reactionary to what's happening, and like for me, Miles was all about that, especially for instance with the second quintet.
Oh yeah.
That's like, how do you feel like being? Do you feel the Miles' influence on you a lot when you're like from the same surroundings or?
Man, Miles Davis has an incredible influence on me as a musician, as an artist, as a person. Again, he grew up in Alton, Illinois, which is just across the river from St. Louis.
Yeah.
But as a professional musician, you don't necessarily play in Alton. You got to come across the river to St. Louis, was the big city.
Yeah, I see.
So we're connected by the water, by the river.
Yeah.
To me, it's like the Nile River of jazz. Coming up the Mississippi River, which is really cool. I feel totally connected. I mean, there's like family ties almost.
Okay.
My cousin Eddie Randall, who had an amazing band back in the early 40s and late 30s. Miles Davis was in his band.
Oh yeah, the
Eddie Randall and the Blue Devils.
Blue Devils, yeah.
And
that's so cool.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So like you got it like, you know, written out in you basically. It's in your genes, in your code. It's fantastic.
Man. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's fantastic. And how about? I mean, this is speaking from a perspective of a trumpet player, you know, because I'm a trumpet player as well.
Amazing.
So, how influenced were you by? I mean, like, were you more influenced by his approach to like music overall? You know, like by his coolness, or like was it also kind of? I don't want to say this, but the notes kind of that he played. You know what I mean? Like
his choices.
His choices, yeah.
Yeah. His preferences. I've always been influenced by Miles overall. When I first started listening to him, it was about, wow, how can somebody play so, I don't want to say perfectly, but know exactly what to play over whatever situation, whether it be fast, whether it be slow, whether it be a ballad, whether it be, some bebop stuff, whether it be some modal stuff, whether it be, some incredible new age kind of compositions that Wayne put out there, whether it be him playing, over stuff with Gil Evans, it all had a place, and it was amazing how Miles was able to be the artist in whatever situation he was in. Yeah, his voice always remained the same, as even when the situations changed. So me, as a musician, a person, somebody called me the other day, they called me a hybrid musician, which is interesting because I really do move into different scenarios from, working with Jay-Z, working with Common, working with Mos Def, working on Beyonce records, working, with Robert Glasper and Marcus Strickland to doing, my own thing. It's like my voice travels in each way. Anytime somebody listens, they can say, oh, yeah, that's Keyon, that's him doing this thing. Yeah. So I got that idea from Miles Davis. Listening to Miles, that your sound and your preferences, your uniqueness must travel to whatever it is that you do. You don't, go to a different gig and all of a sudden disappear into the band or disappear into the section. You know
That's
what I mean?
The thing. Yeah. I mean, I know exactly what you mean, because for me, like, if you take I've read the Miles's biography, I don't know, like 4 times maybe already, and like always.
And another thing, even with the biography, my cousin Quincy Troop wrote the book.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
No way. Wow, man. So you're like really
St.
tied
Louis,
with Miles.
yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy, yeah. But what I wanted to say is that every time I read it, there's this part about when he went to Paris, and he spoke to like Picasso and like these other great artists who are like, painters and this kind of stuff. And in this kind of world, it's like, it's the first and foremost thing, I guess, in the painting world, for instance, where you have like your own fingerprint and like straight away, oh yeah, that's him, that's Picasso, because like you can recognize it, all like on the spot. So this is, like, I guess this is what most of us should aspire to, like being artists, I would say. Or
absolutely. I totally agree with that, man. I think it's so important. So important, because at the end of the day, we are our stories. Yeah. That's the only thing that separates me from anybody else. Yeah. That's what separates you from me. Yeah. Is, how you came up. The stories. The things that you love, the things that you appreciate. Again, preferences, the things that you've experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All of these things make you you. It affects your compositions, it affects your vibrato, it affects your range, depending on if you listen to Arturo Sandoval every day, for years, or if you listen to Maynard Ferguson or, Cat Anderson, do you play high? You listen to Miles Davis, do you play smooth? So all of these things kind of, they all kind of go together, and it's super important.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. Back on track. So you touched on like how you worked with Jay-Z, Beyonce, with all these kind of people, and I've listened to the podcast you made with Leo Sidran recently. It was a nice one, very nice one. So you talked there also about like you being a producer, how you needed to like learn it. Did you go like into this kind of, oh yeah, I'm gonna become a producer for the sake of, you know, also that you have the possibility maybe in the future to work like with these kinds of artists, or like was it just, oh yeah, this came on naturally, you know?
Interesting. I'll tell you what happened. I was on a gig, I was on a tour with Common. Then he made a new record, and it didn't have much trumpet on it. To tour a band, to tour with a certain amount of people costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, you know, as much as, you know, he liked me, he couldn't take me because the expense of it. So, you know, I lost the gig for a while because he had to do something else. And as a band leader, I totally understand.
Yeah,
you know, you got to save as much as you can. So, but when that happened, again, it's a beautiful day because I say, for my song, you know, perspective-wise, I could have just been depressed and say, you know what, forget it, forget this music thing. I've been let go of a gig that I really love, and, you know, boo is me, why. I could have did that. But what happened was I told myself that, you know what, I love music, I love production, and, you know, going forward, any opportunity for me on any gig, I'll never lose a gig simply because they don't have trumpet on it.
Yeah, I see.
You know, it'll have to be for something else if I leave a gig.
Yeah, I see.
You know, so for me, I said, you know what I gotta do? I gotta learn production because you'll never let me go. The next time we get together, I'll be writing the music. I'll be producing the music. I'll compose the music for you. Yeah. So that is why I really, really got into it. The first reason. Okay. But the idea of production didn't end there because I told myself that, you know what, I have the skills, I have the ear, I have the makeup to create for great people. You know, I already work with great people, so, and I know what they like, I know their nuances, I know, you know, their preferences. You know, I can learn how to, you know, use an MPC. I can learn how to use a Korg Triton. I can learn how to, you know, learn programs. I can learn how to do MIDI. I can do all of these things. I'm a creative, you know, and I would listen to tracks, listen to Dilla, listen to Pete Rock, listen to all these people, DJ High Tech, and say, you know what, man, let me try that. Just like I would transcribe Miles Davis and Clifford Brown and Freddie Hubbard, I started transcribing the great producers. You know, it's a certain skill once you learn how to learn. Yeah. You know, the more you learn how to learn, then you can say, okay, shit, I'm going to be a good producer.
Yeah,
I'm going. Yeah. So now, you know, my mindset is, you know what, I want to work, you know, with the great rappers. So I want to work with 50 Cent. I want to work with LL. I want to work with all these other people, you know. So eventually, you know, as I started, you know, putting the time in, like really, really putting the time in, and, you know, getting out there on a whole nother circuit, you know, because I did the jazz thing, but it was like, you know, moving in the spaces of hip hop and R&B, you know, submitting beats and moving around and figuring out who the key player was. It started to make sense. Yeah. You know, and that was, again, a part of my development as a composer. Yeah. You know, it didn't stop there, though. It kept going. Yeah. So I had to get to a point to where, you know, me writing typical music, you know, as a trumpet player for a quintet or whatever, you know, writing these melodies, but how do I make that make sense with the hip-hop stuff that I know? How do I make that make sense with the R&B stuff that I know? How do I put it all together to make Keyon Harrold sounding tracks? You know, that took a while for me.
I see, yeah.
Took a while to put it all together to where it's succinct, because I hear it very, very often where it's not really succinct. It's, you know, somebody plays a beat, somebody plays a horn solo over it, that's it. Yeah. Nah, anybody can do that. Yeah, it's like, but how do you make it to where, oh, that makes sense? How do you make it feel like it's a 32-bar form? Yeah. How do you make it feel like, you know, how Gershwin saw AABA? You know, how does my composition style work for a band? You know, my quintet? How does it work in a way that makes sense, that you don't have to think about, that you don't have to wonder, why is he not playing trumpet?
Yeah.
You don't have to wonder, why is he singing so much? You don't have to wonder. It all makes sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's also what I wanted to, talk about a bit, is that on the new record, you kind of, like, you sing a lot, you play also some trumpet on there, but you don't necessarily play, like, a solo on every instrument, or, on every track, So that's kind of also what I found very, I have a sympathy for that.
You should listen back. You know why? Because I soloed on it on every song.
Yeah, do you? I mean, I don't. Okay, you got me there. No, because I didn't say
not a lot, but I definitely, there is, and you know what? My ground rule was that every song must have improvisation.
Yeah, must have. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I'm mistaken it for like some backlines, or like this thing, because to me it kind of seemed as like, oh yeah, he's not like, this is not like a 5 chorus.
Yeah, I'm not going crazy. I'm not playing Cherokee.
Yeah, this is maybe what I meant more, like in this way. So this is because a lot of the times when I see like, a record of like someone I don't know, like an ex-artist put their, new record out, and it's just like, yeah, it's basically a band backing the, the leader or whatever, like who's just taking all the, or like most of the space for themselves, and that's,
exactly.
This is kind of what I don't like about, nowadays, like, okay, let's say jazz, but you know, like overall these things, because like we already had this, and like I don't wanna.
We've already had it on the highest level.
That's the thing, yeah. That's what I wanna say exactly. Like we're not. I don't think we're ever gonna do it better than, for instance, like Clifford. Or,
Clifford, I was listening to Clifford on my ride here, 2 hours straight, listening to Clifford, listening to Fast Navarro, and Miles, and Coltrane. It's like, it really doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And I could appreciate it. So who am I? What can I add to the canon of amazing music?
Yeah.
I got to figure out what that is. And, the whole process of me trying to figure out how to do these compositions and figuring out where I solo is a part of what I have to say. Again, I could listen, we can play What Is This Thing Called Love and all of those tunes, and, Now's the Time. We could do that. But again, what is it saying about me other than, okay, you can play?
You can play, exactly.
No, but who are you as the artist? That's more important.
Yeah. Once I remember we had a workshop with Walter Smith III.
Oh, well, Walter, that's my man.
Yeah, he's a great man. Like, and we had I guess like an improvisation workshop with him. And was like, yeah, let's play What Is This Thing Called Love, or like we called the tune, and I think it was by coincidence, What Is This Thing Called Love, now that we talk about it. But we all went there and just like, it started just being chops, like all chops, and he was like, what are you doing, guys? Just like, there's notes, but there's like no, there's nothing else behind it, like other than just
what
notes.
Are you saying? I hear you speaking,
yeah,
but what are you saying?
Yeah.
It's a lot of words, but what is the message? What are you really trying to convey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
to just add on that note, I don't think he said this, like in particular, but like this is what I kind of got from it. But definitely, because from that point on, I started thinking about it like way more in this sense than just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna transcribe this and this is my new lick of the day or whatever, So that's the kind of thing I think we all have to be aware. Because how do you feel about, because today's music is just, today music is just everywhere, and you can make music like on the spot for yourself, and with the AI,
Absolutely.
There's a huge inflation of music. So I guess my question would be, how do you view it as like, do you view it more as like a problem, or, what's...
In terms of AI?
In terms of, in terms of like everything with the inflation of music more nowadays, that like,
the accessibility of like home studios and, things like that. I think accessibility, when we think about YouTube and we think about the vast libraries and we think about all the streaming services where everything is in front of you, I think what happens is it's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
But people don't have enough discipline to go deeply into what's actually there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's so easy. So let me check it out. boom, I just listen to Coltrane, I just listen to Coltrane, I just listen to Miles, just listen to Freddie Hubbard, I just listened to the whole record. And it's like, yeah, you did, but you didn't really get deep into it.
Yeah.
You don't really have appreciation for it. Like when I came up, you had to buy, one CD at a time. Yeah. You would listen to one CD at a time for, a month, 2 months, or until you got enough money to buy another one. So it was special. You know what I'm saying? It's different when you have to, basically put your blood, sweat, and tears into something. You turn it on and it's just like, okay, cool. It's just it's not really. Let me find a word. It's not it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's cheaper. Yeah. So when something costs, when you put your blood, sweat, and tears into a solo or into buying something, you appreciate it more. Yeah. So a lot of the appreciation is gone from certain points in the creation of music, the learning of music. We kind of overlook certain things because there's a vast library in front of you. It's kind of daunting, actually. Definitely. But if you had 20 records and somebody says, okay, take these 20 records and go on an island and let's see what you come back with, I guarantee I'd rather that than seeing somebody saying, I have all these streaming services and you can live with that for the next year, because that is going to be so much more focused. I think there's a lot artistically, there's a lack of focus because of the accessibility of everything. Nobody really has to take the time to find themselves. Yeah. It's easy to get lost in the sauce. It's easy to do what everybody else has done. It's easy to, to say, okay, my God, that's a hit. Let me remake that. I can do it in 2 seconds. I have loops. Let me do that. That's a hit. I can do it in 2 seconds. I can sample that, and bada bing, look at me. I'm a producer. No. Nah, it's not. It doesn't really take the time to really get deep. It's like to me, it's like making a really, really good meal. You go to grandma's house or your mom's house or whoever your favorite person is to make you a meal. Yeah. You come, you sit down, you wait. They bring out the plates. Mm-hmm. You chill. You might have something to drink. You might have a little appetizer or something. But when the meal comes, you know that it's taking time to roast. It's taking time to cook or saute. And and you can smell it. It has depth to it. It's a whole visceral experience. And to me, that's how I like to do music. It's like a slow burn, a slow cook. It doesn't need to be fast. Sometimes things come out quickly, but for the most part, it's holistic. It has depth. It's not just one thing. It's not just, oh my God, look what I did, bam.
Yeah, it's just like a catharsis, like continuation of putting something like either on a paper or or to a computer.
Absolutely.
No, but definitely, like, it's funny that we're talking about this now because recently I've been realizing it myself that like maybe I should go way more deeper into like all the music, and so I started listening to some classical quartets, with the scores. So like they're because if you try to listen to I don't know, an F major quartet by Ravel, and you listen to it for the whole half an hour, for the first time, for instance, and I try to sing the first part of the second movement. Do you even remember it?
No.
So you need to go back,
Absolutely.
Until you know it kind of by heart, and that for me is what's the.
You gotta live with it.
Yeah, you gotta live with it for some time, and there I feel like in these kind of records, in like the more back we go, the more we need to dive deeper and deeper into the music because it just takes so much time,
Absolutely.
That's what I feel about it. One thing, when we go back to Miles, he also worked on the Miles Ahead movie.
Yeah.
That's because, when I first saw it, for me it was like, I really liked it, despite the fact that there was one part which I really, not hated, but really disliked, and that was Miles with a gun, That was like a very...
That was for Hollywood.
Yeah, that was a very but also because for me it was like, okay, it was, it started coming out around the time that I was, what age was I? I was like 19 at the time when the movie came out, and so I started like getting into like all the, you know, oh yeah, there's like things as, you know, racism, like all these things, you know, America like started speaking, you know, to me like via the internet and all this stuff. And it was around this time, and so like there was this, to me it kind of felt like the urge to, you know, have a portrayal of Miles that like, oh yeah, he was a tough guy, don't get me wrong, but you know, to have him with a gun, I think that's like a more like a caricature of like, and doing it more wrong than doing it right. So I don't know, what's your take on that? But
I mean for me it's not even about a take, because I was there and I seen it, so I know why they did it.
Okay.
You know, and it was about, it's Hollywood. It wasn't it wasn't a documentary about Miles. It was a movie about Miles.
Yeah, it was a movie.
So you know, talking to the family, it was about how Miles portrayed himself. You know, he was into certain kind of movies, into, you know, being in a chase scene. You know, things like that. Action hero. Like it was that's who he was.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see.
So that was, you know, intentional in how they did it, how it came across. That's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, that's of course. It's like it's art, so you know, it's subjective. So.
It wasn't a movie that was about Miles's life per se.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? It's a movie. You know.
Yeah, it's a movie, definitely.
Yeah.
But one thing that very much struck me about you making the music for the movie was that you had to read kind of the movement of Don Cheadle's fingers.
Yeah.
Which, like, to me, when I first heard it as me being a trumpet player, I was like, damn, you know, that's a lot of work to like figure out how, you know,
when he's playing, like figuring out what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know, because you know this, since you're a trumpet player, we only have, you know, 3 or 4 options of what note is correct, unless we go above high C when notes start to run together. But you know, it's like he's doing like this, but if the chord is, you know, C major, and you know he's playing, you know, he's got his first finger down, we know that that's a problem. You know, so how do you make it make sense? So I had to basically, you know, over and over again look at his fingers, say, okay, this this formation or this combination works. So for any time you've seen his fingers working, I had done, you know, maybe 7 iterations of it might be right if you did it like this. Whether that be high, whether that be playing low, whether that be him taking breaths, whether that be, you know, is this melodic or what's going on? Is it loud? Like what's happening to make him make sense? It wasn't easy, because first of all, you know, you have to do it just to figure out what the notes are. Then you got to figure it out what it sounds like. Then you got to figure out what's the rhythm. Is he playing high? Is he playing low? Is he playing soft? But also, not just what I sound like doing it, but how would Miles sound like with those iterations. So that was the hard part.
Yeah.
You know, crazy.
Yeah, it sounds very much crazy.
If somebody told me to do that and gave me the directions to do that, I would fail.
Okay, I see.
I would definitely fail because it wouldn't make sense to me. So I had to just actually do it. And again, my production skills as far as working with Pro Tools and stuff like that allowed me to, you know, do those edits. Okay, boom, do it again. Boom, do it again. Oh, that makes sense. Boom, do it again. You know, I think if I had to sit with an engineer, because I engineered that myself.
Oh, okay.
It would have been like pulling out your hair. It would have been crazy.
Definitely. But I also read somewhere that Don Cheadle learned trumpet for it a bit.
Yeah.
So that probably helped a lot, right? Because he kind of knew what he was at least a bit doing, or I don't know.
Not really.
Okay.
Even though he knows how to play, like he can play Blue and Green. He knows the whole solo. He knows all of Miles Ahead.
Nice.
He knows some other things, but he was a bass player in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. So he is a musician. Like it's not even a joke, but he learned learned how to play. He has a Monet trumpet. It's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Monet trumpet.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that was a special time.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I maybe talked about it a little before, but I want to get back to the Soho incident, because what happened was that your son at the time was falsely accused of like stealing someone's phone, and like it was I watched it on Instagram, you know, because I was following you back then, so I was like, okay, this is, you know, it was amidst the whole, you know, like George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, all these like protest kind
during
of
the
thing.
pandemic.
It was like all big boiling down, you know, like seeing burned places burned down in US. So like, do you feel this had some kind of impact, like, I mean, socially on the people of America? Like, do you think it has like changed to better, or like do you feel that it's kind of still in the same old?
As far, are you talking about my incident, or just about just the culture and the climate in the United States?
I mean, I would say like the climate in the United States.
Okay.
That we're now.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think people had to recognize, people had to come to terms that things are not right.
Yeah.
We're talking about, you know, racial inequalities and, you know, racism is still a thing. It's still big, you know, in America and everywhere else. And it's unfortunate. It's, you know, it's as simple as that. And we have lots of work to do to change it. You know, me as an artist, I really attempt to use my platform as a place that I get a chance to say certain things. Certain people can't say it, you know, or they can say it and many people won't hear it because many people don't know them. Me, you know, if I say some things, some people will listen. So I take, you know, I try to make, I try to say things and put messages out there that will bring us closer together as a people, as humans, because it's important. Yeah. You know, some people don't feel that way. I'm not a politician. You know, I'm a trumpet player, singer, you know, composer, a human, father. You know, I'm a bunch of different things. And the things that I care about have to do with love and have to do with building community and bringing people together, not distancing people. No. You know, so whatever that is, you know, the situation that happened with my son in Soho was, you know, interesting because we'll go back to what we were talking about earlier. You know, when you have these situations that you have the choice to do one thing or you have the choice to do another thing, what will you actually do? Yeah. You know, when we were talking about, you know, if the piano player comes in with a chord, what do you do? You know, for me, it's about performing. At the time that the thing happened with my son, you know, I could have done so many things. I could have done nothing. But it just so happened that I did the right thing. Yeah. To me, it was like improvising. To me, it was about being an artist and being a performer and being quick on my feet. Yeah. You know, some people don't really have those nuances or those quick actions. Yeah. You know, it is what it is. But you know, I think that's a talent. Yeah, you know, and the same thing that stopped my son from being, you know, totally. You know, hurt. I was able to protect my son. Is the same, you know, feelings and reactions that I use when I get to the bandstand every day. You know, you got to be quick.
Yeah, you got to be quick, definitely. But that's, I mean, it's, again, I mean, for me, it's kind of nice for you that you like find a way, you know, to not affect you like in a bad way, because I mean, could have been bitter about it, you know, like.
Oh man, I could have been bitter. You know, many people. I'll tell you what people tell me. You know, if they watch the video, they say, "Man, you're a strong dude. Yeah, you could have, you know, did this to her, or I would have beat her up. I would have, you know, I would have blah 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 blah." But you never really know until you're in that situation. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's all about how we react to things. It's about our perspective, how we see things. You know what I'm saying? Some people can see certain things as a threat. Some people can see certain things as an opportunity, or whatever that is how do you see these things? You know, again, to me, I always equate it to music. You know, I was just talking about Miles. Miles heard I heard Herbie tell a story about Miles. You know, how Herbie played some note, and you know, Miles, you know, did his thing with his ears, and Herbie thought he had made the biggest mistake ever.
Yeah.
But Miles was like, yo, that was the thing that opened me up to take me to a whole nother world, because the way Miles responded to it, it was the most beautiful thing. That's how we recreate harmony. You know, you got tension and release. That's how you create music, tension and release. So this shit is going to happen. Stuff is going to happen to you. It's about how you respond to it, how do you make something beautiful out of something that could be so ugly, perceived as ugly, but it's who you are as the artist to make things beautiful for the rest of the world to see.
Yeah, I see, definitely, yeah. When we go from this topic, kind of, I have a question about another word, or like a word, the jazz word, you know, because I mean I've never even like until recent years, I guess, because I started following Nicholas Pates, and then you know he's a very much like advocate of the BAM, like the Black American Music kind of acronym. Is that the word, instead of jazz? So like, what's your take on that? Like on the word jazz, like how do you feel about it? Because I've seen a lot of videos where, for instance, Miles, Charles Mingus, Lee Morgan, even like these kind of people are like, okay, what even is that word? So you know, how do you, in like the 21st century, when the word has become, you know, like so common, let's say, how do you feel about that?
It's just a word.
Yeah, okay.
You know, it's, you know, the boundaries, you know, are made so people can categorize you as something. Yeah. You know, that came from the press. That didn't come from the actual people. Yeah. You know, how do I feel about it? It doesn't really matter to me. Okay. Because I do what I do. Yeah. I make the music that I make. I collaborate with who I collaborate with. I improvise the way I improvise. You know, so none of it doesn't limit me. You can call it Black American music. You can call it jazz. You can call it. Only thing I care about is that you recognize it as good music. Yeah. That's all I care about.
I agree.
You know, Duke Ellington or Quincy Jones says two kinds of music. You got good music and bad music. I want to do good music.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think Duke said that as well.
Me?
No, Duke.
Oh, they probably all did. That's probably where he got it from. You know, to me, it resonates with me. I'm not married to the term jazz. Yeah, I'm married to the term music that makes people feel. Music that raises vibrations, music that's telling a story, that might lead somebody to making love and making babies, or that may, stop somebody from committing suicide. Some music that might, power a culture to do something different. Yeah. Some music that might stop a war. That's what I'm interested in. Yeah. I don't give a shit what you call it. Nice. I want it to be something that resonates with a people, that goes deep into their heart and soul, that transcends even what I could have thought the message to be. Yeah. I want to do living music, so that's what I prefer. Black American music, okay, cool. Jazz, cool. I want it to be living music for generations to come, and the people now, that when they leave, that they say, you know what, I got a new perspective. I don't know what it was, but I feel different. Yeah. I don't know what it was, but I feel like it's a brighter day. Yeah, I see. No,
maybe for me also the question why I asked it was that is that I kind of may see it as like hurtful, but like not in a sense of maybe like hurting someone like directly, like, oh yeah, you're like, you're some, like a bad word, but maybe in a sense that, as you said,
a negative connotation.
It's a limiting thing also, as well, as you said it, like, this is like, yeah, you're a jazz artist, like, let's say someone says that about you. Already it puts, in a lot of people's minds this kind of feeling that, like, oh yeah, this guy must play this, so like they have to.
I think yes and no.
Okay.
I think yes and no, because sometimes people just need, they need some kind of association, because they lack a certain amount of education in the field. Yeah. So if somebody says, oh, Keyon Harrold's a jazz musician, they know that I'm going to be playing with some form of improvisation, because he plays the trumpet that looks and it's tied to the idea of what jazz is, because maybe they heard of Miles Davis, or Wynton Marsalis or something like that. So the idea of jazz is something common. It's like a business card. But once you go deeper in that business card, you learn that, this is a whole nother world.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, for instance, if we met and wait, are you Czech?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you say, I met my man, his name is Samuel, and he's Czech. That's okay, cool, he's a Czech. But then when you say, okay, so where are you from? Okay, so who's your mother? So what kind of music do you like? All of a sudden it goes a whole nother world to who you are. But the first thing you say is, from the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a jazz musician. Okay, cool. That doesn't end who I am. That's just the beginning, and that's your gateway to my depths. Yeah. Where did jazz come from? Jazz musician? Okay, what is it influenced by? What kind of music? Maurice Ravel, people were listening to Stravinsky, people were listening to Mahler, people were listening to Beethoven, people were listening to Bach, people were listening to all this shit to get to a point to where we are now. So the idea of jazz is the most basic form of how you can introduce. It's the short term nickname.
Okay.
I'll tell you my real name when we go deeper.
I see. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm glad you asked that, because I've never even been able to explain it like that. It's like you can say jazz is a nickname, but I'll tell you my real name when you come to my show. I'll tell you my real name when you listen to my music, when you listen to my collaborations.
Okay, yeah, basically, like, if you want to go deeper, go deeper. But, like, if you're not, like, you're jazz, basically.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, call me a jazz musician. Call Thundercat a jazz musician. Then go to his show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you'll see, his world is vast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's like, it's nice that you also put it kind of like in these words, because this is something I very much, I resonate with, kind of, So yeah, thank you. I think this is a nice conclusion, because we're running out of time. So about resonating, I wish you the highest vibrations on the stage. I hope you enjoy the concert and have a nice rest of your tour.
Oh man, appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's been incredible to talk to you, man. What's the name of it? 32 bars?
32 bar talk. It's like, a bar talk, but 32 bars as well.
Yeah, shout out to, listen, it's an honor to be here. This is Keyon Harrold with Live on 32 Bar Talk. Let's go.
Hope to hear you another time. Ciao.
Peace and love.